Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, where we look into the many facets of the job, the career, and the lifestyle of investment and insurance product wholesaling. I'm your host, the creator of the Awesome Wholesaler Experience, and yours truly, Awesome Mike. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. I've done it again. I have another terrific guest for you. And let me just jump right in and introduce you to him. Mr. Shaun Buck. Buck stops him. He's been a serial entrepreneur for the past 16 years. And I don't mean serial with a C, I mean with an S. He's owned a variety of businesses ranging from multiple hot dog stands to now a publishing company. Now, he does currently own and operate The Newsletter Pro, based out of one of my favorite towns, Boise, Idaho. Now, although The Newsletter Pro has only been around a little less than a decade, he's already grown the company into the nation's largest custom print newsletter company. And they print and mail millions of newsletters annually for a diverse group of industries spread across 4 countries. I almost thought it was counties, Shaun, but it's countries. Now, in addition to running the Newsletter Pro, Shaun is a proud father of 5 boys. Feel bad for your wife there. She's a little outnumbered. And but he had his first one kind of young. In fact, he was 16. However, he bucked up, pun intended, and decided to raise his son as opposed to what was popular at the time, maybe running and hiding from that. And this choice has both inspired and motivated him to become who he is today. Now, in 2014, he was honored and received Dan Kennedy, the professor of harsh reality, as I like to call him, right? As he likes to be called. Shaun received the GKIC Marketer of the Year award. It's a big deal, actually. A year later, his Newsletter Pro team and him, they landed at number 120 on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies with a growth rate of, get this, almost 3,000%. They made the list again in 2016, which is actually harder to do, coming in at number 343. He's very proud that his company has also made the top 10 places to work in Idaho. He's made that list for 2 years running. Congratulations, Shaun, and welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent, Mike. Thanks for having me, man. So it sounds like we're going to have an awesome time.
Indeed, that is my intention. I got to ask you a question, though. I'm glad you wore the, what is that, a size medium shirt? Because you're looking jacked today. Did you get that 250 up in the air, or are you still working on that new max bench press? What are you at now?
No. Usually about 250. It's actually a large, but yes, I do enjoy hitting the gym, and but yes, 250 is the max bench press at the moment. We'll try to get to that trying to get to that magic 300 mark here eventually. So
now, what is inspiring you to do that? Having teenage boys now kind of checking you a little bit, or is it that you don't want your beautiful wife to look like she's carrying around a toad with her, or what's motivating you, man?
Yeah, I've actually found that taking that, about 75 minutes a day, 4 or 5 days a week, and working just really on myself. I try not to think about work. I try not to think about issues or whatnot. I do my best just to focus 100% on me and kind of get set. That I actually found that my business grows better. I have a lot more energy. I'm able to kind of run in a sense a lot longer. So I've just found that it works out well for me to do that, and that I enjoy it. I enjoy that little bit of me time, 5-6 hours every single week. I can just worry about me and not worry about, the 70 other people who work for me, or the, 6 people at home who rely on me, or whatever the case may be. Right. So.
Yeah, I understand that completely. And congratulations, man. You're looking great.
Thank you.
Look like you're making some smarter choices, and you're looking lean and mean, man. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
I also, lose weight on occasion. Normally I find it, really pretty quickly. In fact, in honor to this show, I had a couple of donuts before we came on.
What?
Anyways, the reason I bring that up is that I'm a big fan of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've gotten into that, but I think that it's something that I always tell, especially the guys, but even the gals that come on the show, hey, check out a local jiu-jitsu school. It is so much fun. It is completely different than any experience you've ever had in karate or whatever it is. It's a nerd game.
I love martial arts. I haven't tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I've done Kempo and another one called Kung Fu Sansu, and a little, dabbled a little bit here and there in Taekwondo as well. And so, yeah, I actually haven't done it in a few years, but I actually love martial arts. It's a great release, and it's fun. And every now and again, especially as entrepreneurs, everyone listening here, every now and again, it's just fun to hit something. You know what I mean? You just have one of those days, So, yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. But that's a good tip. I actually been thinking about getting back into martial arts. So I appreciate the tip. I will check it out.
Let me give you this much on it. We'll move on. So I have a long history in Taekwondo as well. I was a champion fighter and still maintain a connection there. And Jiu-Jitsu, I'm a novice at. I've only been doing it a few years. But the biggest thing about Jiu-Jitsu, they're almost completely different.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of this bowing and dorkiness. I mean, and there's no yelling. If you're yelling at Jiu-Jitsu, it's because you didn't tap out soon enough
and you're hurt
or something. Yeah, for real. But here's the biggest deal, Shaun, and I'll leave you with this. You got boys, you got a wife and yourself, and I can use my Jiu-Jitsu to defend myself or to control a situation.
Yep.
Without having to hurt the other person. Can't do that if I'm using my Taekwondo. If I kick somebody, they're getting hurt, I'm going to court.
Yeah.
So Jiu-Jitsu allows me to kind of control a situation, without having to hurt the other person. It's already, I've used it. I have a son that's autistic or has autism. He's full grown. He's a house. And I've had to literally grapple with him to control him in a meltdown fit of rage. And I'm able to do it and keep calm. And it was completely beautiful because I was able to control him and help him to, calm down without having to hurt the kid.
Yeah.
And so I'd encourage you to do that. Put your boys in it too. It's well worth it. I'm sure that there's a place in Boise that would be awesome to do that with. But let's continue on. Let's talk about business here. Dude, you're American. You're the American dream. Okay. This guy from Canada wrote a song about you. Drake started at the bottom. Now we're here. You've heard it before. I'm not a big fan of Drake. I do like Canada. But man, take us back. Okay. You're a teenager, right? Yep. You're doing what teenagers do. You get the call. It's unbelievable. You think it's a joke. And then you decide to, buck up, own it, and it changed your life. Tell us a story.
Yeah, it was, I had a, like a lot of people, I had a rough start. I mean, I had no money. My family had no money. My mom was a civil servant. My parents were divorced. They divorced when I was 5. I moved out when I was actually 16 years old. I had a really bad living situation at home, not in the sense of, necessarily abusive, although there was a little bit of, some of that issue, mental abuse and stuff from my stepmom years before this. But yeah, I mean, I had a bad situation. I lived with my mom in a 2-bedroom apartment with my mom and little sister in one room, and my older sister, her husband, and their newborn daughter in another room. And I slept on a blow-up mattress that we would prop up against the sliding glass door every morning so people could walk through the living room. And that was where I slept. That was my bedroom. And I had a little crate that I kept my stuff in. And in fact, my family used to make fun of me because I would go and lock myself in the bathroom and tell them I was using the restroom. I wasn't really using the restroom. I just needed some privacy. And so I go lock myself in the bathroom for 90 minutes, and they'd be wanting to get in because of course it was the only bathroom, but it was the only place I could get a little bit of privacy. So I moved out at 16 years old. And shortly after I broke up with my kind of on again, off again girlfriend for a few years, she calls me up and tells me that she's pregnant. And, here I am 16 years old. I'm in high school. Yes, I'm living on my own. And I'm getting a little help from my grandma to make that happen. But I'm trying to figure things out. And I had to drop out of high school. I did ultimately go back, but not into traditional day-to-day school, but I did ultimately go back and did even did some college until I found I was making more money and had more business experience than my professors. But you know, I did a little bit of that and had to go get a job. I mean, no one told me that the government would give you benefits and stuff at the time, right? You know, and so I'm like, well, I need health insurance, you know, I need money, I'm going to have to buy diapers. And so yeah, I mean, I went out and I started working, and I found out very quickly I could sell. I was good in sales. And so had the sales job selling computers back when the Pentium processor was just coming out. So I originally was selling some 386 and 486 computers for those of you who are old enough to know what I'm talking about here. But Intel was just getting ready to brand the Pentium processor. And, you know, we'd sell some Apple computers, but before Apple was cool. And yeah, and that was kind of how I made a living. And there was a lot of talk about should my son's mom have an abortion? There was a lot of talk about, should I just bow out? Should I just, you know, walk away? I was getting a lot of encouragement to just kind of disappear and let her deal with it. And, you know, and I decided, like, that's not who I am. You know, that's not how I operate. Like, you know, you said, you know, you kind of were making the pun, like, buck up, but, you know, I always saw, at least from my family, like, that the buck men do the right thing. Right. You know, and that's, you know, maybe that was just idealistic in my head. You know, cause I've come to find out that, you know, no one does the right thing 100% of the time. Right. You know, we all make bad decisions from time to time, but at 16 years old, that's what I thought. And so I did what I needed to do, which was to man up and go figure out how to make a go of this. And then it kind of got even harder when my son's mom decided she wasn't super interested in actually raising a kid. And so it was kind of left all on me. And of course I had some help from family, not a ton. Her mom and dad helped quite a bit in the early days, you know, doing some babysitting and stuff like that. And but yeah, man, I mean, I just had to figure it out, and it was me and him against the world. So instead of going out with all my friends and partying, you know, there was a little bit, I got to do a teeny tiny bit of that, you know, from time to time, but I was at home. I was at home reading and studying business and trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur and how to have a great life. And that's what I was doing at, you know, 16, 17, 18, you know, 20, 25, you know, that's kind of what was my day was: work or have a business and study and learn business and learn marketing. And yeah, here we are. So
great. That's a great story, man. I know that, you know, you're on the other end of that journey, still only maybe not even halfway through your own journey. But what clicked? What happened? Was it just the Buckmen do the right thing? Did you have a mentor or a role model that you aspired to be that kind of put that first book in your face? I mean, what was it?
You know, so what actually clicked? There was two things that clicked. The first was actually, I'd have to go back further. I was 10 years old. So like a lot of us have sad stories, hard starts or hard middles to our life, or whatever the case may be. You know, I'm no different. At 10 years old, I was too much of a handful for my mom. So she sent me to live with my dad. But unfortunately, my dad's new wife didn't like kids, despite having a few of her own. And she proceeded to tell me every single day how I was fat, how I was going to be nothing, how I was worthless, how she hated me, how much she disliked me, and she used very different words than what I'm using, right? You know, I'm using the PG version of this. And it was always when my dad wasn't around. And heaven forbid my dad go TDY. So he was Air Force, which meant he got deployed for a short period of time, 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever that happened to be. And oh man, when that happened, there was hell to pay. You know, I remember one time having to clean our kitchen, okay, which was a giant kitchen, living area and stuff like that. I had to clean to her specifications. It took approximately 2 hours to do it the first time right for her, maybe an hour and a half. She had me do it 4 times in a single day. I was just slave labor. I literally would come home with all my schoolwork, and I'd have, you know, somewhere between 6 and 10 different chores I also had to complete, but those had to be completed first before she got home, and then I could do schoolwork, right? So I started fantasizing at that age. What would it be like? How can I never, ever be in this position again? And I came up with, if I was an entrepreneur, if I had money, No one would ever have their thumb on me like that again. And that was the start of it. And so I literally had notebooks as a kid, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, where I would write out and imagine myself in the future being an entrepreneur. Now, I thought it was franchising. So I thought I was going to like buy a McDonald's or something, right? You know, because that's what I knew at the time. But I would literally write all this stuff out. And then, you know, I mentioned earlier that my sister was living in that apartment with her husband and her daughter, who actually now works for me here at my company. Her daughter does. And my son, who I had at 16, they both work here. But that little girl was born, and I instantly fell in love. And, you know, for me at that point, seeing her and holding her and seeing how precious she was, you know, there was no way I could walk away from my child, right? You know? And so I think it was the combination of those two things basically that really helped propel me. And it was that I'm never going to be under someone's thumb like that. And I will show them, you know, I will show this woman, you know, and prove her wrong. And then the combination of seeing how my older sister having a kid, you know, at 18 or 19 years old, and then me falling in love with this little girl, and it was those two things combined that kind of gave me the drive and ambition, I guess. So,
you know, Shaun, thanks for sharing that story, man.
Yeah.
It's usually a story like that though that leads to the place that you are headed if you're not already there. That's you know, that call it necessity creates the ingenuity, create, you know, the life that you really want, even just to avoid that pain. But let me ask you, if I could go back in time and give you a normal, you know, white picket fence upbringing, and you know, and put you through 4 years of a normal college education, all that, would you take it?
I would not take it. No. So yeah, I'm not a big believer. I don't dwell on the past, right? I mean, you know, I don't, other than telling the story, I don't think back to this mean woman, you know, who was horrible to me. And I don't think back to, you know, mistakes I've made. Like, listen, I mean, I've made mistakes. I've made bad decisions. Other people have treated me poorly. I'm sure that along the ways I've treated other people poorly, you know, definitely not intentionally if it was someone I cared about, but I'm sure that it's happened, right? You know, we all make mistakes. We're all human, right? But so I don't dwell in the past too often, but I'm also, you know, let me tell you, I love where I'm at today. I mean, I choose to work. I don't work because I have to. And you know, I have an amazing family and a beautiful wife, and I travel a ton, and I have a team here at Newsletter Pro that is second to none. And yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't change a thing right now.
Yeah, no, I'm very proud of you, man, and envious a little bit. You know, I thought in my head as I was doing some research, I'm like, man, this guy never went to like a prom, never did that deal. And then I see that you decide to just take your wife to Vegas just to go dancing. I
Yes.
mean, you have proms multiple times a year with not a kid, you know, but with a real partner in your life, and you guys have built something that's really beautiful. So kudos to you, man, on that one. And let's dig a little bit bigger though. So you talk about franchising, and you're kind of like your first entree was that you actually bought a franchise, right? This dry cleaning franchise of sorts. And then you quickly said, hey, forget that. I'm going to take the override, and you come up with your own, the dry cleaning butler.
Yeah.
Tell us how that came to be.
Well, so actually the first franchise was those hot dog stands you mentioned. I had 2 of them in front of Lowe's Home Improvement stores. We did $500,000 a year in hot dogs out of those bad boys.
You know, my bad. I thought those were after. So
No, yeah. So those were the first ones.
How did that happen? You're at Lowe's. You're buying a claw hammer or something, or some nails or whatever. And you're like, hey, I'm hungry. And you go and you see one of those things, or how'd you end up in that?
You know, the craziest thing, my grandfather had always said, and he had at this time had just recently passed away. It was about a year after he passed away. So this is 2001. And he had always said, man, those hot dog stands, those guys are making all cash. They're making a lot of money. And I loved my grandfather. I missed him deeply at this stage of my life. I mean, I miss him every day, but right a year later, right, you know, I'm missing him very deeply. And I was like, I need to do something. I need to have a business. I need to be an entrepreneur. I was working for AT&T at the time, AT&T Wireless. Now I'm about 21 years old, somewhere right around there. And I'm making about $120,000 a year working for AT&T Wireless. I was routinely one of their top 10 salespeople, definitely on the West Coast, if not in the country. And so I was making good money, but I knew that this wasn't where I wanted to go and how I wanted my life to be. And so I saw an ad literally in the newspaper, advertising in the business opportunity section, a new franchise available coming to the brand new Lowe's home improvement store that was being built in my area in the East Bay area. And it was $45,000. And so that was the cost to start the franchise, buy the cart, you know, get all the licensing, you know, to get in and everything. And I said, hot damn, this is my opportunity. So luckily for me, I had actually just put down a deposit to buy a house there in Vacaville, which is where I was living at the time, Vacaville, California. And I had 7 days or 10 days or 3 days or whatever it was to get my deposit back and not buy this house. And I knew if I bought this house, I was not going to be able to start this business. So I got my deposit back on the house because it was a brand new build. And I got my deposit back on the house and I bought the hot dog stand. I quit my job at AT&T despite being offered a store if I wanted to be a store manager to stay. Which would have made me like probably at the time, it would have made me the youngest store manager in the history of the company. I declined the offer and I went to work. And so that was the start basically. And I've been self-employed ever since. So
I read that you were slinging hot dogs all day and then you got big, you got another store, which means you can't be at 2 places at one time. So you had to hire some staff.
Yep.
Even though it grossed a lot, man, a lot of sticky fingers there. A lot of those dollar bills never made it to the cash register.
Yeah, that's right. That $500,000 or so, that was my take after the employees took their cut. So, every time I went in and counted a register, and it took me a little while to figure this out, but every time I went in and counted a register mid-shift, I fired someone that day. And so I knew that I needed to check my schedule and see what was going on, because if I went and counted the register, I was going to have to fire someone. And so I needed to make sure I could go work for the next, couple of weeks while I got someone in and trained in a replacement and stuff. So sometimes I let the stealing happen because I couldn't stop it. I couldn't be the guy to go in and work the register because maybe I had to go work at the other location or something, and so, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Pretty much an MBA in entrepreneurship, frankly.
Oh, pretty quick.
A lot more by doing that than you would by going to, XYZ college and sitting in a classroom and listening to that professor talk about how it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously. So let's fast forward though. So I'm a huge fan of your work now, the Newsletter Pro.
Thank you.
Can you kind of tell us, everybody knows what a newsletter is, but nowadays they're, commonly they're just digital. Mm-hmm. They're basically a blog. You're old school. You're not old, but you're old school with your newsletter service. Tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah. So what we do now is what I realized, I guess, is that stuff started to change with all the digital media coming out, right? Everyone's going into digital. In fact, in 2011, when I started this company, I remember shortly after I'd started listening to actually a Dan Kennedy call where the person was talking about this rise of the ebook. And that ebooks had just taken over 50% of all books sold, and that physical books were predicted to more or less go extinct, right? And everyone's pushing in digitally. And I was like, man, I have found, I won't get this saying exactly right, but, Mark Twain once said that when you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to stop and take a look at, at what you're doing and where you're at. And so I'm sitting over here looking at what everyone's doing, and I'm like, this is a way overreaction, because I've been doing newsletters for my other companies for a long time, and they just work really well. We retain our clients longer. We get more referrals. We're able to upsell more products and services. All all the kind of things that we're trying to do with the newsletter. And I was like, it works great. It's super hard to do. I think there's a business here. And so, kind of a damn the torpedoes. I know that everything's telling me that we're going digital, but I'm watching everybody go digital, and there's no way that's going to be sustainable, right? I need to be different than all my friends who are starting web companies and SEO companies and digital marketing agencies and stuff. And so that led to me, saying, okay, I'm going to do this Newsletter Pro thing and create custom newsletters, because at the end of the day, as the media becomes more as we have more of it coming at us, it's how do we rise above the noise and how do we build relationships? People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, but it's very hard to get them to know, like, and trust you today. And so, especially for your industry, right? Like, know, like, and trust is literally the key to success. And so that was where I was like, I think this is going to work. But to do it, we had to go custom. I couldn't do generic because no one's going to respond to generic. If they want to know about generic news, they'll go Google it. They don't need a newsletter for that, right? That's outdated. So I had to have the custom. I have to tell your story, right? I have to tell them who you are, what you're doing, how your family operates, what's your backstory, like we just did on mine, right? What are your hopes and dreams for the future? How can you help them? Why are you the best? Don't just tell them you're the best, show them you're the best by giving them useful information that helps them, give them information that's entertaining. And so that was my thought process behind all of it. And lo and behold, it seemed to work. So.
Yeah, I think it's definitely working, and it's interesting. Now your advertisement, I'll just read it because you wrote it very well. You say the Newsletter Pro's services is the most effective way to create lasting relationships with your clients, prospects, and referral sources. With us, you will experience personalized service with custom articles written for you, a custom design, professional layout, and here's maybe the most important thing, full project management. Everything is printed and mailed in-house, which means we have 100% quality control. And you, the consumer, will have peace of mind knowing that your newsletter is in the hands of the pros from start to finish. Man, that's like almost, a dream for someone to be able to just call you up and push play and have you investigate my personal brand and then create a product like that. How difficult is that to do, though? I mean, it seems like a monster task.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, so we do need the client's help. They have to spend about 20 minutes on the phone a month with us. So, because we interview them, we have to interview them and then tell their story, right? And we can go research that, but we're not going to get the good stories, right? We're only going to get the media side. We're not going to get the personal stuff, right? So we have to get them for about 20 minutes. But yeah, I mean, every single project has a project manager. They have a writer. We call them storytellers. They have a graphic artist to do the branding and the design. It's looked over by 4 different editors before it goes to print. So 4 different sets of eyeballs to do editing for them. The project managers all have 2 backups. The writers all have 2 backups. And the graphic artist has a backup on every single team that we put together. And then, I own millions of dollars in printing equipment that we use to print and mail those newsletters. And the reason I don't outsource that is because quality control. I need to make sure that if I got to rush something through, I can rush it through. If we print something and there's a blue line down the middle of it, unlike a lot of places that will just ship that crap, we recycle it and we redo it, right? I have to be able to make sure that the product's top notch. In the dry cleaning business, which we kind of talked about a little bit before, I didn't own the dry cleaning. I did the marketing. I got the customers. We did the pickup and delivery for free at the house, but someone else did the dry cleaning. The problem was I didn't control the quality of the dry cleaning. So there were times where I had to change dry cleaners because the quality sucked. Or there were times where I lost customers because the quality sucked. So I learned my lesson on that one, and I invested in bringing everything in-house. So which is, my building here that we're in, it's a 25,000 square foot building, which is way more than we need, but we moved 5 times in 6 years. So I just bought a gigantic building so we could grow into it. I've got approximately 70 people here, to put out about 600-ish thousand newsletters a month. So, so yeah, I mean,
let's get that math again. Did you say 600,000 newsletters per month?
Yeah, printed and mailed from here. And then, and I'm sure, I don't know the exact number on emails, but it's got to be millions of emails, you know? So yeah, absolutely.
That's literally awesome. So congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
I don't know how you have all your hair still, brother, because I'm feeling mine falling out as I'm talking to you more. And then mine are just on the back of my neck now. But, you know, that's outstanding. And we'll talk about where maybe you see the future later in the show. But is there a difference? And this is maybe some technical stuff, but are you a fan of what like Bill Glazer would call ugly copy? And a lot of the listeners here, you know, they really get wrapped around the wheel. They pay a lot of money to these marketing agencies to make their copy look pretty and corporate and professional and really boring, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a fan of testing, right? So it used to be that that like a black and white newsletter worked better, but we've done a lot of testing, and that's not the case anymore. It's readership. You have to get readership, and people expect color. So you know, picture's worth 1,000 words type of a deal. And so, you know, we used to have you know, that used to be how it works. Now, if I'm to flip from offline to online, for us personally, we've done a lot of testing on landing pages, especially for things like webinars and that of that nature. The ugly landing page by far, by a multiple of 2 or 3x outperforms the really pretty branded corporate landing pages. And I mean, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars running ads testing this. This isn't, maybe even hundreds of thousands at this point. Like, we've spent a lot of money testing this, and we just, even within the last 90 days tested. I mean, that's recent testing. Within the last 90 days, we tested it again. And our ugly page outperforms a lot. So I'm just a big believer that, yes, use the guidelines and the rules of thumb, which usually means that the less pretty, the less corporate, the less stuffy tends to work better. But you have to run your own independent test just to double check on a number of things. But there's a few things I can tell you, because again, because of the volume of newsletters we put out, the corporate slick glossy ones, you know, or the black and white completely ugly ones, those ones don't work nearly as well as a kind of an in-between. Like, you want to look like it's was done professionally in your office, if that makes sense. That tends to work best, at least from a newsletter standpoint. But every other media, you just you really gotta test it a little.
Now you do newsletters for financial advisors. You do them for medium and big size companies. So your testing is not just with mom and pop dry cleaners and hot dog stands. It's with businesses across the board, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, we have had, and even have, I don't know all of our clients anymore. I mean, we've had billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies who use us because that's a good way, and that was legal, or that is legal for them to put information out to the doctors about their drugs and stuff like that, right? So we've had, you know, everything from huge publicly traded companies to, yeah, some very mom and pop, you know, doing $500,000 a year, small businesses, and everything in between. For a long time, our largest customer was a 50 store chain of pet stores. I mean, our largest as in the sense of number of pieces they were mailing, not necessarily largest in total volume. These publicly traded billion-dollar companies would be larger in that standpoint. Let's see, we're actually in talks with kind of working with one of our partners to put out publications for some really, really big brands. These are early talks. They may never, ever happen. So let me just be 100% clear, but we are actually communicating with both Apple and Microsoft about putting out basically a little bit more of a magazine version of a newsletter for them. I mean, like, so yeah, some really big companies, and then also some really, really small ones too, and everything in between.
Yeah, that's amazing. Good luck with those, by the way. So Thanks. Let me ask you this question, a couple of questions about the ideology. You have this thing called a 10-90 rule that you posted about. Basically, it said, you know, 10% of the time that you spend developing absolute clarity about what is to be done, that you'll save 90% of the time once you begin. How do you apply that in your business?
Well, so here's where most people I think where most people, just entrepreneurs in general, get off, right? We all have so many basically units of time, right? We all have the same amount. And so let's just say that you get 12 units of time, per day, right? And we'll say that's 12 hours. You're out hustling. Okay. So it's 12 hours a day, long work days, right? We all got those 12 hours. The problem is what everyone does is they do, a really, really small amount of stuff. And they do a ton of it, right? So I'm going to do, I'm going to spend 6 minutes over here, right? And I'm going to spend maybe 1 unit on lunch, and I'm going to spend, half a unit on YouTube and 3 units on Facebook, and we don't get anything done, right? And so just coming in and figuring out, like for me, it starts typically the night before. Every now and again, it's the morning of, but very, very detailed. What is my goal for today? What am I trying to accomplish? And I'm very clear on what those goals are. What the one thing I've got to make sure I get done is today, or 2 if it happens to be, but I try never to have more than 2. And I get up, and I try to do as much of that as the first thing I can, because that very clear focus, spending my units of energy on the stuff that matters the most, is what I feel really gets businesses ahead. And what makes businesses struggle is that they're spending very small units of energy, and it's just on a lot of crap, right? And it's just a whole bunch of random stuff, and it's whatever gets thrown at them for the day. My day, a typical work day for me, starts at 5:30 a.m. And the reason it starts at 5:30 a.m. is because I can get up, I can brush my teeth, I can wash my face, and by 5:45 I'm at my home office, and I can get started on my stuff for the next couple of hours before I start getting any kind of distractions. And that's where I get those couple of hours are many times the most beneficial couple of hours of my day, because I'm very focused on the 1 or 2 things that are going to help me move forward, move the company forward, or complete a project or a task or whatever it is that I need to get done. So yeah, I mean, you have to prepare before you go out and actually do. Otherwise you end up in this crazy pattern where you're just running all over the place, and hopefully you get there someday. Right. So.
Yeah. The strategy, one of my coaches, Dr. John Rhodes, all the listeners know who he is. The phrase or the philosophy is what's called an early morning success ritual. That's what you have there, Shaun. And he says that the most important part of that early morning success ritual is getting to bed on time the night before. So obviously that's working for you. There's a little bit of a dichotomy here too, like the purpose of the newsletter. Yeah. Maybe it does both of them, but essentially I hear it over and over again. Nothing is costlier or more difficult to get than a new customer. And yet your focus for the newsletter is to stimulate referrals. Yeah. So is it to service the existing customer base, or is it to get new customers, or could it possibly be for both?
Well, let me tell you how I see it, and I'll also tell you. Let me tell you how I look at it for my business, and then I'll tell you how it works as well too, because they're similar but a little bit different. My main purpose is not new business with the newsletter, right? Okay, we absolutely get that at our company and for our clients, but the main purpose for me is I want to keep everything I've got because of what you just said. It is so hard and so expensive for us to go out and get a new customer. And for most people too, most businesses, that, wouldn't I grow? I mean, wouldn't it just be easier and I'd grow faster and I'd hit my goals sooner if every time someone signed up, they were so happy and got such good results that they just never left? Like, that feels like a much simpler plan, is just to over deliver for them and give them great, great results so they never leave, so that every time I add a new customer, I continue to grow. So for me, my number one focus is always retention. Now, others may have different focuses, but for my business, that's number one. Number two for me is definitely getting, upsells. So the most difficult sale to make is the first one. The easiest sale to make is the second one, because they've already decided that they trust you. And once they decide they trust you, it's so much easier to get them to decide that they want to do business with you. Again, a second time, because we're all scared we're going to go out and get taken advantage of. So when you find a company who does good work and who takes care of you and delivers what they say they're going to deliver, we all want to do more business with that company. Think about Amazon, right? We all do a lot of business with Amazon because they have great customer service. They take care of their customers. They're the world's, at least, last time I checked, in the last week or two, they're the most valuable company in the world. And it all starts with, they have a relentless pursuit to make sure that the customer experience and the customer satisfaction is so high. That's how Jeff Bezos has built in 20 years a company that rivals that of all other companies, right? 50%, half of all transactions done, at least in the United States, if not the world, but I know for sure the United States, are done on Amazon's platform. It's because of their relentless focus on the customer experience, and retaining as many customers as they can. So you do that. And because of that, because they do that, they're able to sell more. We all go back over and over and over again, and we buy more from them, right? Then they do things like Prime Day, which just happened as of this recording, okay? And they do it every year. And that is both customer appreciation, which the numbers I saw was that they sold $6 billion over 2 days, right? But $6 billion worth of stuff. But what does that also do? You can only get those deals if you're a customer. So what do? They're driving new people in as well too, which is definitely something that we heavily focus on, right? That's the third leg, which is new people, which can be either more referrals, which are a much easier sale to make than a completely cold lead. So we like referrals, and we do a lot to promote for referrals. But also, what about all these prospects that we've got that haven't bought yet? Why have they not bought? Why did they call you? Why did they come in? Why did they contact you for however means and then not buy? That seems weird, right? Well, if I can build these relationships with them, stay top of mind, and continue to make offers, what interesting thing that happens is they do buy, because basically people are ready to buy when they're ready to buy, not when you're ready to sell to them. So you have to continue to communicate with them and add value into their lives so that you're there when they're ready to buy. And so that's kind of my philosophy for how we run the newsletter, how I run the newsletter for TNP. Most people come in, though, wanting us to focus more heavily on referrals at first, and that's fine. We can switch those orders up however you want. But for me, I like it to do it the way I laid out, with retention, upsells, and then new business.
That's awesome. It's a great way to communicate with your buyers, so there'll be more chance of them coming back. To quote you, do you remember, what the biggest reasons were that customers leave?
Well, so yeah, I do. It's they feel that you're indifferent to them, right? So they just feel that you don't care. And if you think about why they feel that way, I want everyone just to think for a second. Think about your communication strategy. What is it? It is either buy my stuff or pay your bill. That's your communication strategy, right? You owe me money, and here's an invoice, or we're going to debit your next payment, or your next maybe it's an investment. It doesn't matter. Give me money, right? Or buy my stuff, right? Give me money that you owe me, or buy my stuff. And when you communicate in that fashion, what else are they going to think? And when you treat them that way, then now you're just treating them just like everybody else, which makes you a commodity. And so they're going to then look at you based off of price. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a really big issue, basically, when that's your whole communication strategy. If instead you start adding in some of that personal stuff, you start thinking about, what do they want to know? How can I help them? How can I be of service to them? Right? Then you start building relationships, and then that allows you to then start saying, hey, or that allows them to start saying, yeah, I really like this guy or gal. Maybe we should do more business. We've got this other guy over here who's a tool and not doing so well. Let's bring our money over here, right? Let's buy these, whatever it is, right? So.
Yeah, it's very good. So I want to show you a couple of pieces that I have here. And these are direct mail pieces. I'm going to get your opinion on them and kind of talk about the story.
Yeah.
These two are clearly handwritten
yes.
cards. And these are from two gentlemen that are both in their last stage of life. I think one's 80, one's almost 80. And it's just a simple, old school, thank you card that's handwritten. I keep these are like treasures for me because they don't happen often.
They don't.
No, they don't. And it's really old school technique. And then you have the new guys, I call them the new kids on the block, where you see that they're using colored envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to be efficient, right? Meaning that they just got a stamp here. So, or a
label.
Label. Yeah. A label that's there. Looks like the stamp is still real, but some of them even are using like fake metered mail. This one has a doesn't have a label, but what? Yeah, go ahead, say it again.
Fake hand addressing.
Oh my gosh, dude! I think, my opinion, it's worse than the label because I know it's not real, and I feel like you're trying to mislead me, like you're trying to make me think that you're a real person and you care, when actually you don't. This guy at least says, hey, I'm trying to be efficient and fast. It's just easier for me to print this out and just go with it. This guy, I think, is actually shooting himself in the foot because it's kind of making me feel like something's like a lie, if you would. But my brother, I got to show you this one, and I hope it doesn't stir too many emotions for you.
Okay.
But this is my favorite one. Any chance you recognize that?
Well, I mean, it obviously came from us, so we sent it out somewhere, somehow.
How did you know it came from you?
Well, I could see the address up in the return address up in the corner.
Yeah. All right, so this person that worked for you, she sent me 3 of them, right? 3 of them, and let's see. The first one was this. Awesome, Mike. Acknowledge me, right? And,
yeah.
and these are handwritten. These are not printed. Awesome, Mike. A haiku for Mike, who is so very awesome. I hope you like it. Dude, that's a haiku for real. It's like a real haiku, right? Craziness. Then she says, obviously, I need to work on my haiku writing skills. It was a pleasure talking with you today. Destiny.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's from Destiny. Now, she did that one, and then she did this one. She sent me another one, trying to close some business. Her and, is it Amber?
I got an Amanda that was working with her. Yep.
Amanda, yep. Both of them are terrific, by the way. Nothing but accolades to say that about both of them. Awesome, Mike Baker, hard worker and proud father. Here are your samples. Dude, this is legit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not scalable, though. Here's the one. Jiu-Jitsu blue belt. How hard you have worked for it. Purple belt up next. Oh, my goodness. So she leveled with me, though, and she said those are the only 3 haikus that she's ever written. So how does someone that wants to employ this strategy, Shaun, how do they balance the massive labor required to have such an impact with the efficiency of having to put it out to their entire volume of audience?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what you're doing. I mean, like, to send a card like that actually doesn't take that much time. It just takes consistent effort, right? And it really does stand out, as you mentioned, and it's very different than what everyone else is doing. So it gets the person's attention. But I mean, like, I actually don't think it's all that difficult. Like, that's just, we bought her some note cards, we gave her access to some stamps, some envelopes, and we're like, hey, you got to do these follow-ups. Check it off in Infusionsoft as you do it. I mean, like, it just isn't. We taught her how to do it, and she does it as part of the job. I don't think it has to be crazy outside of the box. Everyone has someone at the front desk. If you don't have an EA, executive assistant, maybe it's time to get one to help with those tasks, so that they can do those extra little touches for you, so you can focus on the things you love to do and the things that make the most amount of money, and they can help you with all the follow-up and the things that support you making that money, right? So I don't think it actually has to be that difficult. Even when she was, I mean, she might be sending, I don't know, 200 of those a month, 10 a day. If it took her 3 minutes each, it's a half an hour. So what? She makes $20 an hour. I just spent $10, I mean, and some stamps. Like, it really isn't that big of a deal. Like, I mean, it is a big deal. It's just Like people make it to be this big thing. It's not a big thing. Just set a system up in place and do a little bit every day.
Yeah.
See, can I say one more thing? This is really important, okay? Because it's to this point. Business is won by being amazing at all the boring stuff. Systems, processes, follow-up. It's not won by being the guy who's really, really good at the only doing the fun stuff, okay? That's not how you win at business. If you want to have a 10 million, 12 million, 20 million, $100 million company, you better be damn good at that boring stuff.
Yeah, and how do you develop the discipline to do that? I mean, everybody wants to be a creative. Everybody wants to have the new idea. You know, let's have this software where we can actually type and it will look like it's our handwriting.
Sure.
You know, and I think it falls flat on his face.
I mean, now I will say a lot of people don't know what you know when it comes to marketing, so they don't necessarily see the fake hand addressing. For people who do know, they may feel deceived by it. You're right. But how, you know, here's the thing, like, and I don't mean, I hope no one takes this wrong, and I'm not trying to come across condescending or anything, but, you know, like sometimes we just got to be adults and do what is required to be done as opposed to what it is we want to do, right? And being an adult, being an entrepreneur means that you've got to do the crap you don't want to do. That's part of the gig. You know, it's not all vacations and sunshine and roses. And, you know, there's all sorts of stuff that I do and we all do all the time that we would prefer not to do. But that's the game you play, to have the life that we all have at least the opportunity to have, if not already have achieved. To have that amazing life that entrepreneurship provides, you got to be willing to do some crap you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's well said. And thank you for sharing that. Speaking of that, what is your opinion about wearing a suit and tie? And, you know, the corporate environment is kind of in this, I want to call it a little bit of a state of transition or transformation, because a lot of my peers don't like the tie anymore. And I think you know, that pendulum swings back and forth.
Of course.
But they're wearing, you know, goofy socks and a pocket handkerchief, and maybe I'm just a little bit too old or oldish and not embracing that. But what's your personal opinion on your uniform for the day?
Well, look, I mean, so I think it just depends on your environment, where you're at, right? So my personal opinion on this is that there are settings that you better look sharp. If I'm coming in asking for money, like in the sense that I'm coming to pitch an investment, or I'm coming to ask you to give me some of your money so I can go invest it for you, or I'm selling you even an insurance product, but in an investment standpoint, I better look damn sharp. Now, what I decided a long time ago was, look, I'm just going to be Shaun Buck. And there's going to be some people who don't like me for that, who say, I go up on stage and speak to big audiences and don't wear a suit. You know, and I've had a couple people tell me like, no, you need to wear a suit. I'm like, well, I'm not your guy then. You know, I'm not the guy who's going to go up on your stage then, because, you know, I that's not how I dress. And I'm going to be Shaun, and I'll come nicer than, you know, and as we talked before, like I thought we were just on a phone interview. I wasn't informed till the end, or until 10 minutes before, that this was video, which is fine. No problem. I probably would have wore a dress shirt, because that's usually my style. I usually wear a dress shirt when I'm going to do something like this, but I would have had probably 1 to 2 buttons unbuttoned, and I wouldn't have been wearing a tie for sure. But that's my style. That's who I am. In other settings, I would dress very differently. If I was going out to investment bankers, I would be matching their level of dress, if not exceeding it, you know? So it just depends on where I'm at and what I'm doing, but you got to dress the part where, you know, for whatever role you're playing.
Now you said a few things there, and I caught them on purpose. One, you said that you have to be yourself.
Yeah.
So you put yourself into an arena where being yourself is acceptable, embraced, or essentially you just change their minds with the amount of value that you compensate for, maybe not wearing the monkey suit, as some would call it. But then you also said you need to kind of meet their you know, uniform, if you would, or meet their level of dress. It's an interesting little dichotomy. Maybe there's no science to it. Maybe it is strictly art. I'll share with you and the audience that I like to wear a suit and tie because I feel like it's my uniform. And maybe it's because of my, you know, years of military,
Mhm.
when I put that uniform on, whether it's this one or if it was the camouflage green and black boots, I became I almost don't want to say a different person, but it really is.
Mhm.
It's like game time. The lights are on. Let's go. I know I can't win over everyone with my dress. In fact, if you look at it, Shaun, it's not awe everyone, Mike. It's just awesome. Right? But I appreciate your opinion on that. I also wondered if it was an age thing. If you think that call it that 30 to 50-year-old crowd is a little bit of a younger mentality than the call it the 50 to 70-year-old crowd.
I mean, definitely it is an age thing. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, because you kind of pointed out that, there was a contradiction in what I said, and what I guess to maybe articulate myself a little better on this is, look, you either got to decide you're going to be yourself and who you are and embrace it and understand some people are not going to like that, right? Which is kind of what I said. There are people who are like, I can't bring you on stage because you won't wear a suit. Fine. I don't care then. There's plenty of stages to be on, right? So fine, no worries, right? So you either got to decide you're going to be yourself or you have to dress the part. Now, if you are going into an area where you have no reputation, you're unknown. So for example, if I'm going in the investment banking world where they don't know who I am, right? For whatever reason, let's say I want to raise some money. Okay, well then I am going to dress up for that because they don't know who I am. I have no brand. When I'm going in to promote Shaun Buck and Newsletter Pro, I have a brand, and the brand is I'm Shaun Buck, and I'm going to dress up however I kind of want to dress up, right? Now to your point of the uniform, and I know that maybe sounds cocky. It just was a decision I made a long time ago. To your point of the uniform, I think there's one other point to that, which is that you're right. When you do get dressed up, and I'll tell you what I do. On Monday mornings, we have a meeting. It is at 9:26 a.m. every morning, a whole company meeting. And it's 9:26, so everyone knows exactly what time they have to pay attention to the clock to be there on time, right? I start the meeting, and I'm a character. I'm a character on a stage in front of 70 employees, and I understand that coming in, and I sometimes do put on different clothes or costumes for that purpose. Now, when I go home, though, I just learned this not too long ago, but when I go home, I then now need to change uniforms again. I change out of the suit or the dress shirt or whatever, and I go put my dad clothes on, right? And my husband clothes on. Because otherwise I come home and I'm still Shaun, the entrepreneur who comes home and tells everyone what to do and answers all the questions and blah, blah. I bring all that baggage with me. So yeah, same thing. I mean, I do have different, I believe that if you're going to go wear your uniform, as you said, just make sure you change out of that uniform at some point when you go home and change back into being the dad, the mom, the, husband, wife, whatever it happens to be for your family. So.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And a lot of us traveling sales guys, it's a difficult challenge because we're used to planes, trains, and automobiles and, efficiency and hustle and go, professionalism. Then you get home and
that's not how it is.
And it's like walking through a time warp and you're like, it really is an interesting transition to make, to take that uniform off and put a different one on. And not everybody can do it. And some people, thrive in it. And it's also about, your surrounding cast members.
Yep.
Grant Cardone never takes it off. His wife and kids are bought into it and they all just kind of live. Mm-hmm. And there's other people that don't take, like Dan Kennedy is a completely different person when he doesn't have his three-piece suit on and he's driving the Wagoneer back into the neighborhood, back in the middle of Ohio. It's like going in the Bat Cave. He's a different guy. So yeah, it's very good to say, hey, let's do this. Let's take it home, man. Appreciate your time today. You gave us a ton of value for the listeners. And, I believe that your book is still available. Has it been sold out or do you have another printing coming up?
Yeah, we actually did just order new books. So we have another shipment coming in. If it hasn't already arrived, I've actually been on summer vacation. So this is a special trip in the office. I haven't been working since May 22nd. Decided to take the summer off with my family. So I know I did hear something about us running out and getting more, but anyone who's listening that would like or watching would like a complimentary copy of my book, to check it on out. It is all about a little bit of my story, and then all about how to create your own newsletter. I lay out the entire template if you want to do it on your own. Here's what I would tell you though, regardless of whether you're interested in a newsletter book or not, here's the tip I'm going to give you. You should order it. You should order it because it's free. Not going to charge you anything for it. We cover shipping and handling, the whole 9 yards. But the reason you should order it is to at least check out the marketing behind it. So we're going to do somewhere in the $10 to $12 million in sales this year range. And this book, for many years, and the packaging and the stuff, which we have changed over the years, but what you're going to get is one of the kickoff points, and it has been the primary kickoff point for the last 5 years that has grown our company to where it is. So even if you're not sure newsletters are right for you, or even if you've made up your mind at this point, you may want to check out the marketing and see the behind the scenes of what's going on and what's working, because it is what has worked to grow our company very fast. And so there's a lot of good tips and stuff that you can get just from how we're doing it. And so if you want to get a copy of that, it's very easy. Just go to newsletterpro.com/free book. So very easy, newsletterpro.com/free book. And as long as that page is still up, so while supplies last, you can go get it there. And we even cover the shipping. When you tell us what industry you're in, we'll send you some sample newsletters that show you from what some of your quasi competitors are doing, right? Because they're probably not in your area, but what some of your quasi competitors are doing. And you can check out all the marketing that goes into that that's built this, 8-figure business.
Wow, great surprise. Thank you for doing that, Shaun. I'm sure that the audience would love it. In fact, I'm going to do it too, because I am a student in this game still. Always will be. Hey, let's do this. Let's kind of wrap up. I have 2 signature questions, Shaun, that I ask all the guests. There is no wrong answer, but some answers are better than others.
Okay, perfect.
All right, question number 1. So you reach over, you pick up your phone, ring, ring, ring. On the other end of the line is 18-year-old Shaun Buck.
Mm-hmm.
You got a couple minutes. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Don't be scared. Don't be scared of making change, right? Probably the biggest thing that held me back was I would have something good going, right? So maybe let's call it the hot dog stand, and I won't actually say that was good. That was not awesome. It was less than awesome, Mike. But I have it good. Let's say I have it going, and it's like, okay, well, if I make this jump and I sell these things and go to this new business, might I fail? So just understand you can outwork and out hustle whatever the challenge happens to be. Don't be scared. Move a little faster.
I think somebody made a bumper sticker like that. Don't be scared.
Or no fear, I think was
no fear. I had one of those back in the day on my car, red, white, and blue flag on it, actually, too. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess some second or third cousin of mine's the one who developed that as the family lore goes. Who knows? We'll see.
Wow. You come from a good lineage after all.
I guess.
Very cool. All right, question number 2. And I'm interested to hear your answer on this one, Shaun. If I could give you any superpower, which one would you choose and what would you do with it?
Huh. This is a PG show, right? No, I'm just kidding. Just messing with you. No, honestly, if I could have any superpower, look, man, that's an easy one. And I mean, I'm talking like superpowers, not like fake superpowers, like superhero superpowers. I'd probably go with flying. Man, I love that as a kid, man. Superman was my hero. Wanted to be everything that he was. That's what I wanted. One of those superpowers, and I wanted to be able to fly. So I know it's probably not a sexy superpower in the sense of some entrepreneurs probably have way better answers, but that would be like the true kid in me would say that I'd want to be able to fly. So
just for ease of transportation, or what would you do with that ability to fly?
I mean, what couldn't you do, right? When we were done here, I'd probably head to Cancun. Just spend a day, 2, a week, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I just think I don't know. I've been skydiving a little bit, and just that sensation of it's really falling, but for a few minutes there, you get to think that you're flying, and it's absolutely, there's nothing like it. So that would be the kid in me. I'm sure as the responsible adult, I'd probably think about that and come up with a way that would, give me the superpower of like, making bazillions of dollars or something. But the kid in me would absolutely just go with being able to fly, man. And I figure if you can fly and you can't figure out how to make money, you've kind of effed up all over life, so.
Dude, that's great. That's hilarious. Hey, man, I want to thank you personally for coming on the show today. Appreciate the time. And, just really want to say thanks on for my own behalf, but also everybody that you've touched, whether it's your employees, your customers, your colleagues, your peers, family, and even your community. I'm sure that I can speak on their behalf and say thank you for your work and for helping all the people that you do. We all appreciate you and do wish you much fortune and success, both now and in the future. And Shaun, as we say on the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, it's about the journey. And we do wish you well on yours. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And a huge thank you to everyone for tuning in today. And if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Do me a solid and join the notification squad if you want to. And you'll never miss another episode again. We are on a mission to get to that magical 1,000 new subscribers this summer. And so we're going to need your help to do that. Appreciate you helping out. So please subscribe. And if you like the show, go ahead and share it to your colleagues and your friends. Hopefully they'll find some value out of it as well. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. And as always, thanks for being awesome, everybody.